Creative Writing 3, Character Development. Welcome to my world. This is a world where the abstract meets the solidity of the carnal world. This is a place where the most mundane events can shine a spotlight that reveals a passage hidden under a shrub that leads into other dimensions. To gain entrance, you may want to follow the dragonfly. Don't follow too closely. On the other side of the porthole, he may become something other than what he appears. As he crosses the threshold, it becomes apparent why he is called a dragonfly. His form shifts and his gentle demeanor is burnt away by the flames of his own nostrils. A castle wall can be seen in the distance, but there are miles between you and that refuge. Anything can happen out here, and there are plenty of obstacles that will see to it that it does. Today we have unsheathed our sword to do battle against the obstacle of character development. In any story, we are likely to find many characters. We will have the protagonist, the antagonist, the damsel or victim. We may have guides, faceless groups and armies, and non-biased participants. For the sake of this workshop, we are going to focus on the protagonist and the antagonist. The protagonist. Though I choose to introduce the protagonist subtly, there is still a boldness in his descriptive attributes. In Awkward Silence, the protagonist is an imaginative little boy with a heart of gold. He sees the world with an adventurous spirit. He is compassionate and generous. He had all that it takes to become a superhero. He was purely untainted by life's turmoils. As he sees the world he lives in through the shades of purity, he is not prepared for the sky to drop. Declaring his character met no resistance because he was free from conflict. All that I had to do was remember the freedoms of childhood fantasy. I only had to envision a world of flowers and butterflies. I had to allow myself to free my heart from the chains and restrictions of contradiction. In this world, any two ideas could coexist because the changing features of that world would compensate for both opinions. This innocent character still resided in my heart and therefore was easy to develop. It was in the subtlety of giving a dandelion to a neighboring woman with the blush of cheek that showed and invited you, the reader, to join in with an unscathed view of the world. It was a simple gesture that spoke volumes in defining his character. Now, as it were, it was a true story, and the book is non-fiction expressed through fictional ideation, but it has a way of building a character that you want to stand behind, a character that it will break your heart when you see him injured. When I wrote Awkward Silence, I paid no regard to developing the character. I just expressed who I was at that time. It was later that I took heed to what I had written, but it becomes a great model for the development of character. It may have benefited me to spend more time considering my younger self from this perspective, but it truly was the obstacle course of life that began to redefine our protagonist into the antagonist, and finally resolving from the mark of life experience to regain the innocence that was left behind. From a writer's perspective, there are many ways to bring out the personality that the reader can be encouraged by. This is our protagonist. It has to be somebody that we are willing to fight for. It has to be somebody that would put it all at risk to overcome injustice, and this we can see in the smallest of his or her nature. It would be nearly impossible to believe that a child that burns caterpillars with a magnifying glass or finds joy in sticking firecrackers in the mouth of a fish just to watch its head blow off would grow up to save the world. That expression of cruelty would likely continue on a path that manifests as a darker spirit. As I set out on my mission to write Awkward Silence, I took into account a higher purpose. My purpose, as it were, was for self-healing. I had to ask what I expected to accomplish. Diagnosed with CPTSD, it was my goal to gather the symptoms that I displayed and reunite them as one. My objective was wholeness. That will likely be my objective in all my writing. As I put myself together in unity, I see that that mission carries forward into a divided nation that is characterized by divisions of belief, political aspirations, motivations, desires, etc. When I'm true to myself, I see the same divisions within myself as I see in the nation. What I mean is, I can complain of scammers that are manipulating and not forthcoming. Whether I act on my own manipulative character living inside me or not, I cannot deny its existence. My goal for writing then becomes the means to overcome that character and, in essence, change its structure of thinking. It is not my desire to ever have it step up into a position of authority over my heart. When I keep the prime objective of love on the throne of my heart, manipulation has no choice but to bow before the throne. Through my writing, I embrace situational reasoning that transforms that undesired part of me and unites it with the better, more well-adapted parts of me. Essentially, I change my way of thinking, and the manipulation within me matures and becomes something different. It learns to trust with faith and finds it no longer needs to carry on with the mindset of a child's tantrum to get its way. The storyline that I develop to change the direction of its thoughts can vary, but the character development of the antagonist is the true expression of that maladapted part of me. At first, I may not be very aware of its existence, as it does tend to live in the shadows, waiting for the opportunity to arrive. In fact, it may not be until I see it present in the physical world, acting through the opportunist that tries to take advantage of my generous spirit. I may even be brought to anger as I recognize the attempt of manipulation. As you listen intently to the voice of the antagonist, you recognize that it is trying to connect with you using your ego as a baseline, giving you compliments and reassuring you. At that moment, that reality is the most important thing in their life. They would give up their moral values, sell their soul with their singular objective to connect with you. They are using a scripted line that's well rehearsed. They are probably not even aware of what they are doing. You are becoming the target of their manipulation. In the moment you realize you are being conned, you want to raise your voice and just scream. You came to understand that the compliments were not sincere. You are now face to face with something dark and sinister in your own character. You recall a day that someone hurt you emotionally, but you were not mature enough to open a dialogue. Instead, you raised your voice, hoping the pain would stop. That is manipulation through intimidation. It is nothing less than a child's tantrum to get your way. You have no control over another human being. The choice they made that hurt you was their choice to make. It is likely that the pain they caused you was not their intention. Now that you begin to visualize the character outside of yourself and you recognize that it is something within yourself, you can begin to write. The character nearly identifies itself. It crawls out from under the rock and scurries towards you. The rays of light strike it, making it more transparent. For our sake, we will name it George. Now, George stands 6'8", with the emotional height of 4'1". The insecurities stirring around in the pot of stew are weak and ugly. He is loud and obnoxious to compensate for his 2-inch penis. I would not be one to talk of a man's girth, not being well endowed myself, but he places a high level of importance on this perceived value. In many ways, his physical height and insecurities give a description to the narrative that will become our antagonist's profile. The profile expands to show a manipulator is loyal only to itself. Take your time to consider the force behind manipulation, because redirecting that force will deem it powerless within you. It's almost a shame that he seems to think that he has nothing else to contribute to this world, but I have a hard time constructing my thoughts to see beyond his manipulative behaviors. The beliefs that dwell within me assure me that I must find the love and compassion for this bottom dweller, but it would seem that I first must reflect upon my own insecurities, because I have nothing for him except contempt. This is the way that I use the antagonist in my writing to overcome the adversity within and gain a therapeutic value. Once I have a clear understanding of the psychology of my antagonist, I will lead the reader to that understanding as well. My journey began like most journeys begin, with the first step. That first step was a doozy, though. I stepped across the threshold of a false sense of security into the unexplored lands of a writer. Overhead, the vultures fly, all with the same script. They try to feed my ego with compliments. They all want just a small piece, just the smallest of tastes from my flesh. They all came in with a type of seductive reasoning from which I am to use my deductive reasoning to exhume the body of truth. Is the person on the other end of this rope a real person? Or, like so many countless before, will he or she be nothing more than an AI-generated semblance of a human? It is George. I begin to see the likes of that insecure, manipulative creature rampaging through society. Sales tactics that are anything but honest show us a culture of manipulation. Society is insecure because it has removed love from the throne. I sometimes wonder why a clock only ticks in most writings. Does a clock not talk as well? This particular clock is ticking and toking so loudly it can be heard through the pages of the next 3 silences. Whatever good that you were trying to achieve, you will always come across adversity. The enemy will strike in the nuances of the antagonist, and it is your duty as the writer to step above and beyond. If you are mindful of your opposition, you will find that it also resides in you. Bring those demons out into the light where you can see their features, and that will express your antagonist.
Awkward Silence by Jack Taylor.